Hey painting friends, we are in the studio again today and we're going to do a really quick and simple painting tutorial on how to paint a basket, namely this basket. Now it's super beginner friendly and this is a great base for mini a still life. You could put fruit in it, you could put flowers in it. I have a couple of tutorials. One's painting pansies in a basket, another's painting geraniums in a basket. They're both a little rough because they're in when I was first starting doing videos, but you still get the same idea. And even though I do them slightly different in those tutorials, you get the, like I said, the idea. So let's get started in painting a very simple, quick, easy basket in acrylics. All right, let's get going. So let's get started on how to paint a basket in acrylics. So the colors I'm going to use today are a burnt umber or real brown. This is burnt umber and this is real brown. You can see how close they are. I just wanted a dark color for the base and from the shading, some of the shading. I also can use some raw sienna for some lighter parts, or you could use cafe latte. They both work just fine. I'm going to do the raw sienna because I had it out first. And I don't always put all my colors out, and I probably should stop there because first I'm going to do the basket. Now you can draw on a pattern or a design of whatever you like. I just have my 3/4 inch flat. I have it dampened, take the water out of it, and I'm just going to load it with the dark color. Either one will work. I'm just showing you how, if I say I use a particular color, you can find a comparable color to do the project. So let me get this paper out of the way. Now I'm just gonna, this is gonna be a squarish basket. You can make them round, you can do whatever, and I'm just going to paint in a basic shape. Now you can have this go straight up and down if you like. That's fine too. I'm not too concerned about all of that. And just, if you wanted, you could have a circle, but that's not the whole story there, so we're not going to really worry about that. It's not part of the tutorial, basically. That's just if you were going to put flowers in it, you think maybe the back was going to show. Now I'm just loading my 3/4 inch flat. I like using large brushes for painting in large areas. It just makes it go faster. You could do this with even a larger brush, and I'm just putting in the dark background color. You could do this on a canvas or board that is not crackle coated, whatever you want the background of your painting to be. This just happened to be a canvas I had sitting here available and I grabbed it. I didn't have it destined for anything in particular. And I have an entire video and tutorial on my website on how to use crackle medium, if that's a finish that you would like to use. Now I'm just following the outline. You do not have to be perfect, because a lot of times when you're going to paint this in a still life, you are going to cover portions of it with foliage if you're doing a basket of flowers or fruit or whatever it is. So you have it basically base painted in, and you're going to let it dry. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pause here, I'm going to blow dry this really quick, and then we'll come back. So now the backdrop is dry. And don't worry about it, some places are going to be lighter than others. That just adds dimension to your painting. Now we're going to get into some of the raw sienna. Like I said, you could use other lighter browns, and then I'm going to get a little touch of the darker brown, whether real brown or burnt umber, in there with it. I'm just going to work it in my brush. Work it in there. I want a nice chisel edge, but I'm going to draw the lines for how the weave of the basket is. I don't even know what these are, weft, warp, if that's even what they're called. And I'm just going to drag my brush on the chisel edge, and it gets a little bit of both colors in there, so it's not too stark. When I go away, I'm reloading my brush the same way. And then I'm going to decide how big I want my basket weave to be. If I want it closer together for smaller weave, larger for larger weave. I think I want 1, 2, if I do 2 more, 1, that'd be 4. So now one thing I want you to note, that when you're going along the side, to give your basket dimension, you're going to follow the line of the side of here. I'm reloading again, just the same way I did before, and I'm going to follow the line here. And then this one's going to be slightly angled, but not as much. And it's not straight like this one. Reload. And I don't care that it doesn't come to the bottom on this one. That's all okay. It gets darker as you go down. So there is basically our basket weave. Or not weave, but the lines that we're going to weave between. So we don't have to let those dry. We can move on to the next step. Now I'm going to switch to a smaller brush, probably a 12 flat. That was a 3/4 inch flat. Yes, it's a 12 flat. I'm going to dampen it. Now the reason I dampen my brush is because the acrylic doesn't dry in it as fast, and it keeps it more fluid longer. So I'm going to double load just like I did the other one. And I'm double loading my brush. Now sometimes I'll start on the chisel edge and then flatten and come to a chisel edge so it looks like it's compressing, but I'm not going to do that this time. So what I want to do is I'm going to pull the weave from here to here. And then from here to here. I may be doing this all wrong. One thing about acrylics is you can fix them later. Let's see. Do I want some of the basket things to be closer together? And you may note that I don't go all the way to the end or to that line, because as it goes back into behind, it gets a little darker, creates a shadow there. And if you do pull it all the way across, you can add a shadow later. Now if you want, and this is perfectly doable, just load the raw sienna. If you think this is too dark, just the raw sienna, pull, 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 pull. Now I should have probably crossed there. That's too big though. See, I should make my lines closer together. So easily fixed. They don't even have to be straight. You know me, I'm not perfect in anything. Okay, so there we have our lines a bit closer. Got some that's too light, just go back over them with a little of the dark. And it's all relative, meaning it's what you want in your basket. Having multiple colors on your brush, like I do at times, just gives it some dimension. And I shouldn't get going too fast, because then I start to mess up and make things too wonky, and that bugs some people. It doesn't me. I like mine very impressionistic. Okay, so we're going to go that way on that one. Then this one, we're going to go over this, like this. And then next one we'll skip, go over these two like this. Next one we skip, go over these two like this. And then we skip, go over these two. And we skip. Okay. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to go over the first one to the second one. You notice? So it's offset from that, the way that one is done. And then we're going to do the same here. Now I'm giving it a little curve just because I want to. It's not a must-have. But to me, it gives it like it's a little bit of a roundness to it. You can go straight across if that's your desire. Alrighty. And you just keep doing that all the way down. If you want to give a little bit of gap between, that's fine too, if you want them really close together. This is your basket, and you're creating the weave. Now I'm going to do the rest and speed this up because it's just basically the same stroke. Now you will notice they're getting shorter as you get down because it's getting closer together. So now there's our weave. Now you can let this dry right now and before you go in. We'll see if it's going to lift. Now I'm loading just a touch. I didn't even clean my brush, which we'll see how this works. I'm doing a little bit of the burnt umber in there, and I'm going to pull this line back down on the edge to give it some dimension there, and then I'm just going to pull a little bit of shading in there as it comes around the edge. Just a little bit of shadow. Just touch it in there. Some of it will be lighter. You notice I'm not going back and reloading my brush. Make some of them lighter than the others. It's not uniform. So a lot of times also where it goes back in there will have a little bit of shadow. So you're going to do the other side where it's going beneath. Just a touch, hint. Again, my brush gets dry and I let it. So we kind of added our shadows in the different places. Now I see where I kind of went over the little thing there. I don't know what these cross pieces are called, but I'm just going to push in a little bit more where I think it needs to be accentuated. As I said before, it's not imperative that it be perfect, but it is nice to have it where you like it. So now I have some vintage white. You could use any lighter color. I still have that raw cyan in my brush, and that's okay because we don't want the highlight to be too stark. Kind of work it out. You don't want a lot of paint in your brush, and you're just going to touch where it curves forward. Just add a touch right on that spot. In the center, a lot of it where it'd be coming over that bar is good. And just reload your brush, mix up some of the raw sienna with that. Some places will have a little bit lighter color. You don't want it just to be exactly alike everywhere. Just give it a little, and when you put the highlight right in the center like that, it will bring up it forward. So it really looks like it's curving just slightly. Just slightly. You see how I'm letting my brush get dry? That's what I want, because I don't want a stark brush of color. Just a touch skimmed across there to give it a little light. Anytime that you might think it's too white or whatever, go back over it. You could even glaze it, like go in with glazing medium and a little of the darker color and just glaze the whole thing. That'll work too. And just play with it until you're happy, but basically that right there is how you would paint a basket. Now if you wanted to give a little highlight on some of the up and down pieces, which you think I would look up what they're called, you can. Just here and there, just give it a touch of lighter color, because they too need a touch of highlight. I'm just dinking. But that is basically your basket, how you paint a basket. And like I said before, you can make them more rounded. You could give it a handle. In one of my tutorials, I have a handle on the basket for, you know, and then you can put your foliage in here and your flowers, etc., to make your still life painting. So I hope you enjoyed this quick and easy video on how to paint a basket in acrylics. As I said before, you can do this in any colors. You can make it a green basket. You can make it a blue basket. Basically, the same idea will work across the board as far as how to paint one. All right, I'll see you in the next video.